both parties are basically returning to older versions of the Democratic Party.
Yes.
The Democratic Party under Mamdani and Abdul and Bernie are trying to go back to FDR Democrats, and the Republican Party are trying to go back to Jim Crow Democrats.
This level of gaslighting might actually make me crash out. Hey guys, welcome back to the show, your home for independent and nonpartisan commentary and analysis on politics, media, internet culture, and more. We are going to talk about a clip that's going viral right now that really had me pulling my hair out on Twitter because two very prominent progressive podcasters and commentators, Mehdi Hasan and Seder, made the claim that there's really no such thing as far-left extremism, painting our current political divide as if it is so simple as there's the crazy, dangerous far right, and then there's just the good people who want everyone to have health care. It might sound like I am doing them dirty or caricaturing their remarks, but no, that is actually what they're suggesting. We're going to react to the clip and then talk about why it's so incredibly incorrect, especially with recent news and developments. Anyway, let's check it out.
People get annoyed when I say this, and you've said it, I'm sure, a version, which is, yes, there's a far right, and yes, there's a far left. The far right wants Nazism and ethnic cleansing. The far left wants Medicare for all. That is not the same
God.
thing.
And I would also argue that even in the context of the far right in this country is pretty much a genuine far right.
Yeah.
Internationally speaking,
yes.
you start to bump up against fascism.
Yep.
As you saw
very quickly,
20
minutes in.
I got no problem with that. But the far left in this country is not
Communist.
The far left.
It's Scandinavian Social Democrats.
It's the Democrats in 1930.
That's true. It's FDR Democrats.
100%.
And at best international comparisons, it's Danish centrist.
And so even in the context of that analysis,
good point.
What you're seeing is really a return to the roots of the Democratic Party, of the modern Democratic Party, which was the New Deal. If Mamdani was to come out and actually propose things that FDR did,
yes,
there would be people on network television who would
I
light
wish Joe
themselves on
Biden
fire.
had pitched court packing.
Yeah, yes.
I wish he had done that.
Yes.
By the way, we could argue, using your point, that both parties are basically returning to older versions of the Democratic Party.
Yes.
The Democratic Party under Mamdani and Abdul and Bernie are trying to go back to FDR Democrats, and the Republican Party are trying to go back to Jim Crow Democrats.
The Republicans are trying to go back to Jim Crow. Give me a break. What absurd hyperbole. You can be critical of a lot of the things Republicans are doing, but they are not, in fact, trying to bring back Jim Crow. And that's an instant red flag that somebody is being absurdly hyperbolic, alarmist, and bad faith in their critique. But there's actually so much to unpack this, because even if you take their analysis of the far right at face value, and I certainly would question some of it, but I don't deny that there is a very unhinged and dangerous and radical far right in American politics today. I condemn it unequivocally. But to pretend as if there's just no such thing as a far left in America, especially right now, is absolutely crazy and just ignores everything that is right before our eyes. First and foremost, I'm just going to run through a quick list of things that the far left in America supports. Vigilante murder of healthcare CEOs and political opponents like Charlie Kirk. How about that? Open borders, not deporting anyone, including illegal immigrants and who commit murder or how about abolishing the United States Constitution? As the Democratic Socialists of America, a far-left group that now has representation in Congress and is gaining power across the country, literally openly says they want to do. What about censoring hate speech and infringing on mean words with government censorship and crackdowns? The thing that's overwhelmingly supported by progressives disproportionately in the country, according to polling. Things like absurd things like abolishing police and prisons. That is a far left position. That is not just, we just want health care. It is an incredibly radical and dangerous ideology and belief system that I'm not saying it's your typical Democrat that believes these things. but the far left does. You can literally look at the Democratic Socialists of America's agenda, right, this leftist group, and just go through and find these things boldly and proudly stated. And then to say like, oh, well, the far left just wants Scandinavian social democracy. They literally say in the platform that they want the government to nationalize large corporations and run the economy. A majority of their governing board is self-described communist sympathizers. They praise the top figures like this, including folks like Hassan Piker, for example, who Mehdi Hasan is a big fan of and does a lot of positive coverage of, literally praise dictators and murderers like Chairman Mao. With Caroline Leavitt stepping down, who's going to be Trump's new press secretary? Well, according to our channel partners at Kalshi, people think there's a 35% chance Alina Habba will get the job, whereas Anna Kelly has a 27% chance, and CNN commentator Scott Jennings is in with a 15% chance. Personally, I think Scott Jennings would be a pretty good choice, because whether you agree with him or not, he's pretty used to operating in a hostile media environment over at CNN, and he is pretty reliable as a defender of the Trump administration who doesn't get riled up too easily. But if you guys have thoughts on who the next press secretary will be or any of Kalshi's other politics-related markets, just go ahead over to Kalshi, the first CFTC-regulated exchange dedicated to trading on the outcome of future events, and use code BRADP when you sign up on the website or on the mobile app on your phone to get $20 free when you trade $20 now. So you can just miss me with this idea that there's no real far left. It's just people who want healthcare. That's just so incredibly disingenuous and dishonest. I don't know if you're just in an echo chamber where you don't see it, you don't engage with the critiques of it, you just bury your head in the sand and pretend it's all not there. But we've lived through years of this very extreme stuff being pushed and supported by a far left flank. You can certainly argue that it's not the mainstream Democratic Party position, a lot of this stuff, and you would have a leg to stand on in that debate, though I certainly think they've been too soft and too sympathetic on some of these radicals on some of these issues. But sure, it's not like the mainstream Democratic position, but that's the far left, right? We're talking about the far left, the leftmost flank. People like Daria Liza, who's about to be in Congress, and these other DSA-aligned candidates who've said so many insane things, including defund the police. And it's hilarious that he brought up Zohran Mamdani, because while Zohran has sort of pivoted and rebranded a little bit since becoming mayor, his whole career was as the most far-left person imaginable, talking about seizing the means of the production and tweeting out quotes from the Communist Manifesto and saying that queer liberation required defunding the police. How can you be singing the praises of a man like that while simultaneously telling us there is no far left? It is, in fact, a very real thing. Some of their ideas are very scary and very popular. Again, I'll just flash some of the polling. The Network Contagion Institute found that in terms of the justification of murder, that respondents who self-identified as left of center had both 50 and 56% respectively said that they could somewhat see how that it was justified to murder Elon Musk or President Trump. So you have left of center respondents, people saying that it's least justified to murder people because you disagree with them politically. But there's no far left, guys. It's just they want healthcare. This is like the most disingenuous meme these people return to, where they say and do a bunch of radical things, or even if it's not them, because I'm not saying Mehdi Hasan has said those things or supported violence. I don't think that he has. It's like people are doing this and they say, oh, we just want healthcare. That would be like if Republicans, pushed all sorts of the divisive and controversial stuff that they do, but then when you criticize for it or called them extreme, they said, we literally just want lower taxes, guys. Republicans literally just want lower taxes, and Democrats then describe the most extreme interpretation of everything that the far left believes in. That would be the kind of reverse example of how bad faith and unserious this critique and this talking point actually is, which is why it's going viral. And people are clowning on Mehdi Hasan and Sam Seder for this, which, I don't know, maybe they're just rage baiting, maybe they're just trolling, but I suspect they actually believe it. And that's concerning, because how can you cover politics in this country, yet especially in these leftist circles where Mehdi Hasan is operating, yet be so blissfully unaware of the radicalism that surrounds you? I mean, another headline here from Axios, 41% of young voters say United Healthcare CEO killing was acceptable. That's a lovely little poll. And then when you look into the details, it is overwhelmingly left of center or left-wing people that sympathize and feel that way, with a literal vigilante murderer. But they just want health care, guys. They literally just want Medicare for all, which, by the way, itself is a very debatable and would be a radical change to our country and the way we do things and our tax system and everything. But it's like, I'm not saying, oh, if you support Medicare for all, you're beyond the pale, you're an extremist. No, it's like let's have the conversation and the debate. But don't pretend that's all that anyone on the far left wants is just, oh, they just want everyone to have health care. It's just such a bad faith, unserious straw man. And yet they genuinely believe this. And that's the scariest part to me. Because when you set up this boogeyman, it's the same way as if you encounter a far right person who thinks that all Democrats want to murder babies after birth and have absolute open borders and transition kids against their will and all sorts of stuff that like your average median Democrat really does not believe. It's like when you end up in a totally distorted place with a really warped perception of the other side, then you end up demonizing and dehumanizing them even more, and you end up retreating further and further into your own radicalism and your own extremism because you have to do it to justify defeating this foe that you've constructed that isn't actually resembling what you're actually up against, which might be bad, might be very different than what you believe in, but is not, in fact, all just literal Nazis versus people who just want free healthcare. But that is actually how some of the most serious, and someone like Mehdi Hasan, you can't say that he's not very intelligent and very articulate and an excellent debater. He is, which is why he's not stupid. He's not dim-witted, which makes this kind of thing all the more concerning because he's either adopted this knowingly, even though it's totally untrue, just because he views it as an effective rhetorical tool or an effective way to message to people and to mislead the masses, which would be deeply cynical, or he has become overcome by tribal and partisan sentiment that even a very intelligent person has become totally blinded to what is actually around him and what's actually happening and going on. Either way, that's pretty concerning and not great. And that's why this clip is getting so much pushback. And I personally found it absolutely maddening because it's like some of us have been in the trenches pushing back on the far left for years. And then you have prominent commentators going viral and telling millions of people that the far left doesn't actually exist and just wants free healthcare. Yeah, okay. Sure, Jan. Guys, I don't know. That's my take on this wild clip that's going viral. I think you can see it made me crash out a little bit, but I wanted to share it all with you. So let me know what you think in the comments. Do you agree? There's literally no far left. We've never seen such a thing around here. It's just people who want social democracy and cheap healthcare. Let me know in the comments. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you aren't yet, do hit the like button and consider becoming a channel member here on YouTube. It's the best way to support my work. I call out the far left and the far right, and I try to bring you an independent-minded perspective. That's not always the best business model, so I do need support from viewers like you. Hit the join button or click the link in the description to become a channel member now. And with that, guys, we'll leave it there for this one and be back with more real soon.